Okay, let me introduce a woman that probably needs no introduction, but I'll do it for us anyway. Having suffered critical injuries at the age of 2.5 when a car crashed into her daycare centre, Sophie Delezio defied the odds and survived burns on over 85% of her body, losing both legs below the knee, her right hand and her ear. During 6.5 months in hospital, she learned to walk, sit and swim again. Although 2.5 years later, in May 2006, she was hit on a pedestrian crossing on the way home from school, again critically injured with multiple fractures and a brain injury. She spent 2 months recovering in hospital. Her journey, though, didn't stop once she left the hospital wards, and her grit and determination then and now to live life to the fullest is a testament to her spirit. Now with a huge audience on social media, Sophie uses TikTok and Instagram to showcase the true reality of life with a disability. Here to show us her wisdom beyond her years, she's going to speak of the ups and downs and what she does about them. Please welcome Sophie Delezio.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the incredible organisers for this event. I know a lot of hard work got put into this day and I'm just honoured to be a part of it. So today I'm here to share with you not just my story, but a story of struggle, of family, and of how the hardest moment in your life can turn into the greatest of strengths. Before I get started, I want you all to imagine, just for a moment, the impossible. There may be a goal in your life that seems too far out of reach, or a version of yourself that seems too hard to be. Well, we live in a world where barriers, what we once believed unbreakable, dissolve into mere stepping stones. There is a future out there where the constraints of today are but mere distant memories. Throughout history, we have been shaped by the dreams of those who dared to imagine beyond the horizon, where it was once impossible to fathom that humans could fly, and the Wright brothers proved that wrong, and that it seemed inconceivable that we could reach the moon, but there now are footsteps there. The achievements began as mere figments of imagination, nurtured by relentless belief in the impossible. Today we face new challenges, though, that demand our creativity and courage. To imagine in the impossible is not to be confined by limits of what is, but to inspire and to think of the endless possibilities of what could be. It is to embrace innovation and to challenge the status quo in order to break the boundaries. Now, before my accident, my life was what most would consider normal. I have 2 loving parents and an older brother, Mitchell. Our family was like any other. Sorry. It was filled with laughter, sibling fights, and moments of joy. But then everything changed in an instant. I don't remember the accident myself. It is almost as if it's a story told to me from someone else's perspective, but its impact reverberated through every aspect of my life, my family's life, and the people in it. I was only 2.5 when I had my accident. I was in daycare waiting for Santa Claus to come. It was the 15th of December 2003. Waiting for Santa Claus to come on a fire engine so we could see the big red truck and bright lights. And it was nap time when a man who was driving down a hill had a seizure. His foot was on the accelerator, the car kept on going, hit a curb, and it flew over a room of 18-month-old babies. Subsequently landed on top of a bookshelf, which then fell on top of me and trapped myself and another woman named Molly Wood underneath. As the wheels kept on spinning, a fire then broke out and we were trapped inside. Eventually being rescued by some amazing firemen, we then were rushed to the Sydney Children's Hospital and were treated for our severe burns. My parents, Ron and Carolyn, faced every parent's worst nightmare. They were asked countless times if they wanted to turn off life support, if they wanted to let go of their precious child. But in the midst of the darkness and the uncertainty, my mother asked my surgeon an important question. How do we know she's not suffering? And my surgeon answered in a peculiar way, but it is a saying that has given my parents so much strength and hope since then. He responded with, well, how much can a koala bear? It reminded us that even in the darkest of times, there is still light to be found. And so we held on. We held on to hope, to each other, and to the belief that somehow, some way, we would get through this. Then, 2.5 years later, I was in another car crash where I suffered mostly internal injuries, but did suffer a brain injury and lost my sense of smell. But if there's only one thing I've learnt from this journey, is that resilience is born from adversity. It is forged in the fires of hardship and tempered by the unwavering belief that no matter what life throws at us, we all have the strength to overcome this. So I stand here before you today as a power of hope, as a power of courage, and to show that through the twists and turns and through it all, I have never been able to lose sight of who I am and what I'm capable of. People always say to me, I could never go through what you went through, but the truth is we all face our unique challenges. To say that one's life is harder than another is impossible. What may seem insurmountable to some may be entirely manageable to another person. I have a huge fear of lizards, and other people can hold them and pat them like they're a pet. Disgusting to me. But see, life throws us curveballs and we have to learn to adapt and overcome. But what kept me going and what kept my family going is community. It was the people around us, people we didn't even know, who ended up stepping in and making it just that little bit easier. Now, we didn't have extended family nearby, but we have what I call our chosen family, our team. All my mum's family live overseas, so there was a delay in them getting there, and they were only here for a short amount of time. And my dad's family don't live nearby. So my mum, growing up in her life in a country where she had no family, built her team, friends and family of friends, and they were the ones who just, gave her the courage and gave her the hug when needed to. And then when my accident happened, that team became my dad's team, my brother's team, my team. And that team grows, it changes, but we all have our team. Might be one person, might be 5, might be 50. You could be a part of so many people's teams and not even know it. It is the family we choose for ourselves, the individuals who love us unconditionally. They love us wholeheartedly and accept us for who we are. They may not share our blood, but they share our values, our dreams, and our struggles. But perhaps most importantly, our team is there to remind us that we are never alone. That no matter how daunting the journey may seem, we always have each other and will stand by us through thick and thin. Your team provides more than just practical assistance. It offers emotional sustenance. It helps maintain our perspective, keeps our spirits lifted, and encourage us to keep moving forward, knowing that we are a reliable support system can make all the difference in how we cope and overcome our challenges. We can all contribute to building this kind of community. It starts with a small act of kindness, a listening ear, a helping hand, and showing genuine concern for each other. By fostering these connections and building relationships based on trust and respect, we can create this wonderful network of support that sustains us all. Managing well-being and mental health, especially in the face of life's challenges, is not something we can do alone. By embracing the roles we take on, prioritizing self-care, and building a supportive community, we can navigate change with resilience and grace. Because change can be isolating, and we don't have to go through it alone. Creating change requires more than just vision. It requires action. It demands that we step out of our comfort zones and challenge the status quo. Change often is met with resistance, but it is through persistent effort and unwavering commitment that we can turn our visions into reality. Just think about all the great change makers in history. They did not wait for things to just happen. They made it happen. They inspired everyone bit by bit to join their cause, and together they were able to create movements that reshaped the world. Each of us has the power to be change makers. It starts with identifying an issue or topic that there is injustices in and taking steps, no matter how small, to address them. By inspiring and engaging others, we amplify our impact to support the cause. Life is all about domino effects. And if you can help just one person, if you can make one change, think of the effect that it has globally. Now, when my parents were faced with the decision to put my story in the media or not, they knew that if they could just change one person's perspective of people with disabilities, or if they could help one family going through a similar instance, that it made it all worth it. And to this day, as an adult, I am out in the street and I have people coming up to me telling me the impact, and I know it was 100% worth it. Because if it changes one person's perspective, that's all the world needs to create change. Now, I'd like you all to think of your team right now. Who's on it? Who are the people who lift you when you're down? If someone comes to mind, send them a message today. Just a bit of gratitude, but send a bit of love to know that they matter. Now, I'll be honest with you. I never wanted to be that disabled girl. So I decided not to be. I moved to London, I went skydiving, I pushed past all the fear, because when you let fear win, it lets your trauma win. And I refuse to let my trauma win. Even years later, the journey still isn't smooth. PTSD doesn't always look like what you'd expect. As a child, the fear of anesthetic would cripple me. I would spend hours screaming, knowing what was about to come. And then one day, I'm pretty sure it was from Adelaide Children's Hospital, someone sent up this bag of colourful gas masks. Now, back when I was a kid, it was these, well, they still are, black, horrible, scary looking things. And then there was this bag of colourful masks. The idea behind it was that they had a scent to it. It's like smelling chapstick, I guess. And I got to pick. I picked the pink mask. But the funny thing about it is I have no sense of smell. So this made no impact to me whatsoever. And I just played along, be like, oh yeah, it smells great. But it was pretty and pink, so I thought it was wonderful. And that little change just made it the slightest bit easier. It gave me the strength to at least maybe have a half an hour cry instead of an hour, and then put the gas mask on. But it reminded me that sometimes the smallest of changes can make the biggest of impacts. Struggle doesn't always disappear, but they can be reshaped. They can be softened, and they can become stepping stones to resilience. Today, I'm here before you not as a symbol of disabled success, but as simply myself. Throughout my life, society has tried to put me into a narrow box defined by what I can and mainly cannot do. It has labelled me, sometimes without meaning to, and placed limitations on my capabilities. But I refuse to be contained by society's expectations. The imposition of labels tends to categorise individuals based on their perceived limitations, rather than recognising what they're fully capable of doing. But those labels don't define us, they just shrink our visions, they stifle our growth. We are not defined by what we cannot do, but what we can achieve when given the opportunity and with the right support. Too often people underestimate what we're capable of, solely based on our outward appearance. But appearances deceive. Every single one of us is capable of greatness, regardless of how we may look, move, or sound. At the end of the day, no one knows us better than we do. We are the experts of our own experiences. Not one person in the room is the same. And that is exactly the point. Diversity is strength. Yes, I've been doubted. Yes, I've been underestimated. But time and time again, I've chosen to prove otherwise. Back when I was 14 and in high school, there was this guy I had a crush on, and he went skydiving. And I thought it was so cool, and I watched the video and I just knew in that moment I had to go skydiving. So my mum looked around, knowing that I am, some may call stubborn, and would not let this dream go. And every single company she spoke to in the whole of Australia said no. So years later, I was on a family reunion in New Zealand, and my cousins went skydiving in Queenstown. So the next day, I was jumping out of the plane with my brother right behind me, and it was the most amazing experience. That man I had a crush on back in, I was 14, he's now my husband, but so that makes it all worth it. But we have never actually gone skydiving together, and I don't know if I could do it now that I have my son in the world and I just don't want to risk it, but it was very fun. Because for me, skydiving wasn't just about thrill seeking, it was about refusing to be told no, that I couldn't do it. It was about breaking the box that I was placed in by people who did not know me. Yes, obviously they have their laws and restrictions, but I did it and it was great and I proved them wrong. What can I say? In those challenges, I have this urge to show that we are not limited just because of how we look. So here's my final challenge to you. Think about that one fear that has been holding you back. And what does it look like? What would it look like if you take one step forward, no matter how small it is? See, the truth is, you don't always know the impact you're having on someone else's life. And if you make just the slightest change in your own life, you don't know the impact that it could have to everyone else. But you do have an impact, so why not let's make it the most positive impact of all? Let's teach others how we can turn struggle into strength, not just for ourselves, but for each other and for the future generations to come. Now, my story might sound extreme, accidents, hospitals and surgeries, but the truth is we all know struggle, and the extent of that is so vast that we cannot ever comprehend it. Struggle is universal, it just wears different faces. For some it's illness, for others it's grief or burnout, or simply just feeling like you don't belong. And with struggle does come loneliness, that deep sense that no one quite understands what you're going through. I felt that, and I'm sure you guys have too. But at the end of the day, we all struggle. It all looks different to each person, but that's what unites us. Strength is built through connection, through hope, and through refusing to let our past win. And it brings me to perhaps the most important point, is that none of us can navigate life's challenges alone. Community matters, support matters, and inclusion matters. But here's what I've learned, is that loneliness loses its power when we let others in, when we share our story, when we allow ourselves to be seen and build those barriers to overcome those challenges, when we realize that we're not the only one fighting battles. So let's build a community where everyone feels valued, where no one is reduced to a label, and where our differences aren't barriers, but they're bridges to success. Because in an inclusive community, the possibilities are endless. So my message here to you today is the struggle is not the end of the story. It is merely the beginning of strength. Find your team, find your support, and care for yourselves, and never let fear decide your future. Thank you.